about the number of aircraft carriers you have in this region. It's about how many free trade agreements you have signed. So when the United States withdrew from TPP, that was a huge leap backwards, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And so if the United States wants to engage East Asia, it should rejoin the Trans-Pacific Partnership, because President Obama was right. That's the best way of making sure that the United States is part of the rule-writing game in this region.
David Sachs, Professor Mahbubani makes a valid point, doesn't he, that despite this bipartisan support you talk about in the United States towards a tough stance on China, the truth is Biden would serve his own political interests as well as those perhaps of other countries if he took a more engaged approach. It would deliver far greater economic dividends for the US apart from anyone else if he could just lower those barriers that have come up during the Trump administration.
The tariffs are in place. We're not going to take the tariffs off unless China changes its behavior. Right now, China is not living up to the Phase 1 agreement that it negotiated under President Trump. It committed to purchasing a certain number of American products under that agreement, and it hasn't done so. So again, we have to hold China accountable.
Professor Mahbubani, who's winning? Who will win?
In the year 2009, the size of the retail goods market in China was $1.8 trillion. And the size in the United States was $4 trillion, more than double that of China's. And now, fast forward to 10 years, 2019, 3 years after Trump's trade war, where he tried to weaken and beat up China's economy. And the result was that in 2019, China's retail goods market had grown more than 3 times to $6 trillion. And the United States had only grown from $4 to $5.5 trillion. That's the biggest importing market in the world. And 10 years from now, China's retail goods market will be much, much bigger than the United States. That's the real game. So all this talk of Hong Kong, Xinjiang, Taiwan, this is a distraction. That's not what the real game is about. It doesn't damage China. So let's keep the eye on the ball and make sure that the real game is an economic one. I served as ambassador to the UN for over 10 years. I can tell you the biggest single mistake the United States has made in its foreign policy has been to weaken multilateral organizations. Strengthen all these multilateral institutions, rejoin them, refund them, and then it's a better world for everybody. And you said that's the way to win the game against China.
Yes, China's market is big. Yes, it's growing faster than the US market. But is it smart for companies to say our number one target is going to be the Chinese market, knowing that tomorrow they could get totally kicked out of the market for just saying that we're not going to use Xinjiang cotton? Companies are going to find it really, really difficult to continue to do business in China, given everything that we're talking about.
David Sachs of the Council on Foreign Relations, and before him, Professor Kishore Mahbubani. The argument will no doubt intensify this year as the pressure to find a new global climate consensus increases ahead of the UN Climate Conference in Glasgow in November. We're going to be across all of that here on Business Daily, of course. But for now, from me, Butler, and our producer, Benji Guy, this has been Business Daily. Take care.
Okay, I don't have my Bible on me, but Shalom, Barakatah Yehovah, Shema Mashiach, Yahushua. I want to send double honors to all the elders, apostles out here, teaching us truth and sincerity, the Ankwaf, the Akyam, out here, doing what they got to do to make it to the kingdom, and get accepted onto the chariots. I know you can't see me. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 something in the morning. All right, so I don't have my Bible, but we look at when John had the vision, and John the Revelator had the vision, and he saw everybody turn their back on the great whore. Well, we're about to start seeing it, and that's the start of something that's coming. Then we got the nation, China, saying that they're making everybody basically choose between America and them, and America's coming at the short end, and you hear the Americans talking on this, then you hear the other nations talking, the EU, you hear seems to be Ishmael, you hear what seems to be so-called Indians, the East Indians, which is not Ishmael, but Elam, sons like Elam. So you got all these different countries talking from a different perspective, saying, look at the writing on the wall, and look what's coming to Babylon the Great. And it's what these brothers of Great Millstone and like-minded brothers have been teaching this whole time through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. So just listening to that news update don't uplift your spirit to let you know that the Heavenly Father is putting in work for it to be over with, and I don't know what will. But until I get my word and my sword on me, which is in the house, I'd like to say, birthday ho, Bashim Yahushua. Call all Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, Bashim Rakapadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. All these brothers out here sincerely doing this truth in sincerity, doing the work of this truth in sincerity. All the Arkwaf listening, Shalom.